But today I have another confession to make. I love mysteries. I love mysteries. In fact, if you were to walk into my house and see my bookshelf, you will see the complete series of Nancy Drew. Nancy Drew, yes, do I have some Nancy Drew fans in the house today? Nancy Drew was this self-proclaimed teenage detective that would look at clues and solve puzzles and mysteries. It might not be Nancy Drew, it might be Hercule Poirot, or it might be Miss Marple, maybe Sherlock Holmes, maybe it's Indiana Jones. Mysteries, and as I engage with these mysteries, I start to find myself invested in trying to figure out the missing clues. I have this need, but coming to find out that that is actually a human need. That the brain is always trying to figure out missing information. And today we are on the greatest adventure known to humankind. The biggest mystery that we get to unveil is the mystery of who we are. When you are born, you are a mystery to yourself. And as you start to learn, and as you start to experience things, you start to learn a little bit more about your human potential. And today, I would like to add another piece to that puzzle. I would like to talk about another mystery that has really started to plague humanity. And that is this mystery we call bias. I have come to the realization as I've been on a personal journey with you all that everyone belongs in this conversation. Everyone belongs in this conversation because it affects us. It impacts us. Race impacts all of us. In fact, Ernst & Young did a study where they showed that different ethnic groups and racial groups were impacted by narratives of race that existed. As a result of the fact that you are impacted by it, it means that you have a role to play. Lila Watson says it like this, that my liberation is bound up in your liberation. And so she says, don't come to me if your only goal is to help me. But if your liberation from the narratives of shame and guilt is bound up to my liberation from pain, from hate, from discrimination, from marginalization, from a history of dehumanization, then let's work with each other. Let's work on the space between us. Let's work on the space between us so that we can become the us. And the them becomes discrimination, hate, marginalization. We need each other. Let's build with one another and break down barriers with one another. We made a declaration that we're going to look at this work from an asset-based point of view. And we declared that diversity in your organization is not a problem to solve, but an asset to be gained. And an asset is something we grow and we nurture, we desire it, we think of our position in relation to it, and we are committed to see it mature and grow. But at times, when people walk into our organizations, into our institutions, into our offices, into our classrooms, into the boardroom, they feel as though they have to leave a part of themselves behind, de-emphasize a part of who they are, the intimate part of their identity. To win, does the sabotager win, or does the positively intelligent sage win out? Especially in this conversation around race. Who wins? What is your balance? Let's go deeper. In this conversation of race and ethnicity, your brain is always forming templates. It's always learning from you and forming a template. Many people sometimes say that forgiveness is more for yourself than it is for the other person. Let me tell you where that exists in the brain. because of the fact that negative emotions allow memories to stick. And if you hold on to those negative emotions and negative memories, they make their way into your long-term memory. They become part of your template. And so it's easier to default to those interactions and those reactions as well. Explicit bias. And as I study explicit bias, there are two main themes that I constantly see. How many themes? Yes, wave the peace sign at me, that's right. A requirement for explicit bias is the fact that I have an understanding of who I am and who I want to be, number one. Number two is that I have an imagined future that I see, that I want to accomplish, that I want to actualize. And in the gap are behaviors that will take me to that imagined future. Take it a little deeper. There was a young man that went into Buffalo, and he went into a predominantly black area and entered a supermarket and started to open fire. And those bullets struck 13 people, killing 10 and wounding 3. That young man was operating under the philosophy of, I know who I am. I know who I want to become. And I have an imagined future, an ideal future that I want to see, and my behavior is going to line up with that. Basically. And they published a paper that said the brain is designed to forget. Your brain is designed to forget, because it literally has to make room and more space for new memories. And so you often remember things in generalities. You often remember general things and not details. If a dog were to come and you think, oh, that's such a cute dog, what you'll remember is that was a cute dog. You won't remember, oh my gosh, look at the skin and look at the fur. And the details to the brain might not be as important. And that applies to you, because on your journey, you have had wins. You know yourself. There have been some details in the past that you've experienced where you were courageous in the face of discomfort, where you did have those difficult conversations. Think back to that testimony and think back to the details of it. What was it about those moments that allowed you to be courageous? What was that moment that allowed you? What were those characteristics that allowed you to push through even in the face of discomfort, family? The brain is designed to forget, but we have to remember what is in us, the strengths that we have exhibited, not only our failures, but our strengths as well. Shame and guilt will slow you down. You're not a finished product. And so you can grow, you can learn from situations you find in your life. Value different perspectives. I described the muscle earlier. The tendon doesn't have the same function as the ligament. It doesn't have the same function as the muscle. Diversity is an important part of this story of anti-fragility. Interdependence is part of this story of anti-fragility. Embrace your shared humanity.